Here we go then, guys. It's the big one. It's the Championship. The calm before the storm. It's my 1 to 24 official 2024-25 Championship predictions. We're all ready. You're all going to be ready. It's that time of the year again. And this is the biggest video of the predictions lot of them all. Where will Plymouth Argyle finish this season? We're about to find out. Here we go. I'm going to do this predictions episode in categories for this one because I think there's going to be different categories of where every club's going to finish this season. So I've got 4 categories for this. The relegation battle, mid-table, the playoff chasers, and the promotion chasers. So let's see who is in what category. Obviously, we're going to start at the bottom and make our way to the top for this predictions. As always, with all of them.
Running, no, going, no. Keep running,
We're going to start with the relegation battle, which I think is going to be 9 clubs this season. That's right, 9 clubs in the drop battle for me this season. All of them, I think, will be in with a chance of going down, and all of them nearly at least being in or around the bottom 3 for parts of the season. But just like last season when there was 8-9 clubs in the relegation battle, well, 8 technically because of how bad Rotherham were, I don't think it'll be any different this season, and there's a lot of bottom half teams who I think have strengthened to make the relegation battles even harder. So yeah, I've gone from 24th to 16th for my relegation battle this season. So let's see who I've got in the relegation battle and who I think will get relegated. 24th, Blackburn. I can't lie. This was the easiest pick, in my honest opinion. Honestly, I genuinely think that much they will struggle. Even with, if Sammy Szmodic stays at the club, they will come bottom of the league. They've done awful this transfer window until the last 4 days, signing Danny Bath and Andy Weimann. And to be fair, John Eustace is a very good coach. Obviously, he proved that last season, getting Birmingham to the playoffs before he was unfairly sacked. But the thing is with Blackburn, they're such a one-man team. I know they've got Lewis Travis back, to be fair, this season, which is a win, but they're such a one-man team. And they even proved that even when Lewis Travis was with them before he went to Ipswich at the end of last season. Blackburn are that much of a one team. Do I see that continuing to keep them up this season? No, I don't. I really don't. Even with, if Szmodic stay there, they will genuinely finish bottom of the league. The ownership of Blackburn is shocking at the moment. The fans are falling out of favour with the owners and the people that run the club. Honestly, I genuinely think this will be their first season back in League One since the 2017-18 season. They look shocking. I don't rate them. I don't rate them at all. I really think they're going to be in for an absolute shocker of a season. And there's a lot of clubs from last season's bottom half of the table in that relegation battle who I do think will improve. Blackburn are one of those clubs I don't think that will improve. They're going down for me, 24th, Blackburn Rovers. The only consolidation I can give Blackburn is that at least I think they'll do better than what Rotherham did last season. But I can honestly, I've looked at the fixtures they've got, I can only see them win around 7 games. That's how bad I genuinely think they're going to do. They're my bottom of the league this season. By the way, the table I did on World Football Net, I'll put at the end of this prediction so you all know why I've got with etc, etc. 23rd, Derby. To be brutally honest, I do not rate Paul Warne at all in this league, as he's proven during his time at Rotherham in the Championship every time he's been with them, and he's failed to keep them up. He has failed to keep them up every single time. And I can't lie, I didn't think Derby was that exciting from last season, to be brutally honest, in League One. I don't think it's going to be that easy for them. To be honest with you. They've lost Joe Wildsmith to West Brom, which I think is a massive blow for their goalkeeper chances. To be fair, they've signed Caden Jackson up front, and they have signed Jerry Yates up front, which I do think is very positive from the Rams, to be fair. Although, I have high hopes for Iron Cashin this season. He's brilliant. Same with Nathaniel Mendez-Lang. Do I think it'll be enough, though, for Derby? I don't know. Like every season, though, in the Championship, I do think they will put up a fight. Like they always do in this league. They always do in this league. I just don't think they're strong enough already to be back in this league yet. I'm going to be brutally honest right now. And I'm not a huge fan of Paul Warne in this league. And I think they'll get found out, to be honest with you. I genuinely have no... I have no optimism in Derby this season. I do think they'll get some great wins, to be fair, along the way, and I do think they'll take it to either the last day or the 45th round of the season, but with other squads who I think are going to do better than them this season, I just don't think it's going to be enough, honestly. I'm sorry, Derby. I think you're going down 23rd. Also, owner David Klaus has had to rebuild from scratch due to prior damage, so regardless of the club's size, going from square one to fully Championship ready in 2 years might be a big ask as well. Also, Max Bird has gone as well to Bristol City, which I think is a huge blow for Derby as well. I think he will be badly missed. If there's anyone who I think is going to struggle in the Championship this season out of the promoted clubs from League One, I do think it will be the Rams. However, they have had a much better transfer window than Portsmouth, so I will give Derby that one, but I still don't think they're ready. I've got them 23rd. The final relegation spot then. This was hard to pick, but ultimately at the end, I went with this. 22nd, Watford. This might be a surprise to all of you, considering how sustainable Watford is in, well, this league and the Premier League, whenever they're in the Premier League. But financial uncertainty and a rookie head coach in Tom Cleverley. To be fair, Tom Cleverley does know this league inside out and knows his football club inside out. The Hornet fans absolutely love the guy, and they have every reason to believe that they can stay up. I think this is the worst Watford have looked in years. I genuinely think this is the worst Watford have looked in years. They have got, obviously, their player of the season last season still in Wesley Hout, who I still think is absolutely class. Last season, for me, started a downward spiral for the Hornets, finishing in 15th. They ended the season really poorly as well. And I just think there's a lot of uncertainty going on at the club at the moment. I think they're going to be the next so-called biggish club that will eventually reach League One. I think this is the season they finally go down. I don't rate the squad at all. A rookie head coach. They're no longer looking up towards promotion. They genuinely are more looking down than up, in my honest eyes, the Hornets. Although the players of the quality of Chak Vadazzi from the Euros and obviously Wesley Hout, that can steer them away from trouble. I just still think that there's a lot of turmoil going on at Vicarage Road, and I just think it's going to be such an awful season for them. I will be honest for them. I will be honest though, this was really hard for me to pick who stays up between Watford and who I have in 21st and 20th. So whoever I have in 21st and 20th, which you'll find out in a minute, I can still see them go down as well. I ultimately picked Watford at the end because I just feel like this is the season they finally go down. So it is a risky prediction, to be fair. because there's a few others that won't have Watford going down. Jack Ward, the Oxford YouTuber, has influenced me for this prediction, to be fair, and his reasons are exactly the same reasons I have for the Hornets, for the Hertfordshire club. This is the season they go down, in my honest eyes. Will they bounce straight back up straight away if they go down? We'll see, but they're not looking good at all, in my opinion, both on and off the pitch. So yeah, I'm going Watford to go down with Derby and Blackburn. Also, apart from Moussa Sissoko, I think their transfer window's been really, really poor as well. So that's another factor that's led me into predicting Watford to go down as well. I can also see a season where Watford do a Watford and, as usual, sack their manager early after not being impressed with the manager, and then they bring a second manager in, and then that backfires, and then the Watford fans are going to be wishing, oh yeah, I wish we had Cleverley back, and then they bring a third manager in and it costs them going down. This is the season they go down for me. They're looking downwards rather than upwards, honestly. I'm sorry, Watford fans, but I think this is the season you finally drop to League One. So yeah, I'm going Watford to get relegated with Derby and Blackburn. 21st, Hull. I can't lie, it was really hard between Hull and Watford on who I had to come 22nd and go down. I wouldn't be surprised if Hull go down at all this season, to be brutally honest with you. It might be a surprise to some of you because they did finish 7th last season and just miss out. But have you seen what has happened to the Tigers this summer? They've risked it and got rid of Liam Rosinia, first of all. And then Fabio Carvalho goes back to Liverpool. And then they've just lost absolutely everyone. Ozan Tufan is gone. Jacob Greaves is gone. Jaden Philogene-Badace is gone. It's been a disastrous summer for Hull. I don't understand why people think the Tigers are going to do well this season. If they do, and prove me wrong, absolutely fair play to them. But they have lost absolutely everyone. And Tim Volter, new manager coming into this league, has no experience at the Championship whatsoever. So you might look at this going, why didn't you back Watford to stay up then? Because Tom Cleverley does have the experience. But the only reason Hull will stay up, just for me, is because I can't see them quite doing a repeat of what they did in the 2019-20 season. But God, I'll tell you now, they will struggle this season. They will genuinely struggle this season. Hull this season is going to remind me of MK Dons and Oxford a few years ago in League One, where they finished in that top half and playoffs and playoff race, and then they dropped dramatically. I really fear for Hull this season. I really do. They've lost everything they've absolutely worked for to get to where they were last season. Had they kept Rosinia, had they kept them the bulk of their players, 100% they wouldn't be where I've got them now. But they have, which I think is really stupid from them. Genuinely see them struggling this season, and one of my dark horses to be in the relegation battle this season. I have no confidence for Hull whatsoever. I'm actually surprised I haven't put them 22nd. The only reason I haven't put Hull in the bottom 3 is because I think there's going to be a new club that goes down, and I do think Watford are the worst they've looked in years. I think Hull will scrape it. I think they're in for an awful season. A really hard season, the Tigers. So yeah, I'm going 21st for Hull. They've done absolutely nothing this summer to replace the bulk of where they got themselves last season. Why get rid of Rosinia? Why get rid of Greaves? Why get rid of Philogene-Badace? The Greaves leaving, I sort of understand, because Jacob Greaves was, for me, the best centre-back in the league last season. And Ipswich have secured themselves a brilliant signing going into the Premier League. But the rest, Tufan, Philogene-Badace, Carvalho going back to Liverpool, Hull will struggle. They will genuinely struggle this season. I've got them 21st. 20th, Oxford. The smallest club in the league, the bookies' favourites to go down, and I think they're talking a load of waffle. Have you all seen who Oxford have signed? Let's go through the list now. Matt Phillips, Peter Chioso, Idris El Mazouni, Will Volks, Plachetta. That tells you everything you need to know. I'm not sure about Louis Sibley, but that tells you everything you need to know about Oxford and why they have no fear coming into this league. It's their first season back in the Championship since 1999, which is a really long time ago now. Another reason why I think they're going to be so up for it this season and surprise everyone. Apart from losing Josh Murphy to Pompey, they have had by far the best transfer window this summer out of the 3 promoted clubs from League One. They are in this league to prove a point. They are not here to compete. They are here to surprise everyone and prove a point. I do think it'll be hard for them regardless, though. Like most Oxford fans and EFL fans will think. And I do think it will go to the last day for them, or the penultimate day for them. But they'll do it. They'll genuinely do it, in my opinion. The signings have excited me. Des Buckingham means business in this league. And it's their first season back since 1999. And it reminds me of us last season when if you haven't been in the Championship for so long and you feel like you've got a point to prove, this is it. This is the chance. Oxford's not even that much of a smaller club than us as well, so there's that as well. But no, seriously, club size aside, Oxford are going to surprise everyone this season. I have rated their transfer business. I've rated who they've brought in. It's their first season back since 1999. They will be a hard team to play against. They will be a lot harder to play against than you think. And also, like what Blackburn did last season with Sammy Schmodix, I think will be the same with Oxford this season with Cameron Brannigan. Cameron Brannigan will carry Oxford to safety this season. His brilliance will give the Yellows a sniff. It's a huge step up for everyone, to be fair. And I know it took Des Buckingham 4 months to get to grips with League One. So the Championship, to be fair, might be too soon for them, but I'm backing them. I've rated their signings and I know they're going to go for it regardless. If they do awful this season, then I am proved wrong, but they've convinced me this summer and Brannigan will carry them, honestly. Oxford will stay up for me in 20th. 19th, Swansea. I can't lie, the Swans were the hardest team to predict for this season's Championship predictions, if I'm going to be brutally honest, because first of all, last season, I was very wrong in thinking that Luke Williams would flop for Swansea. He actually did incredible for them at the end of last season. It kept Swansea up as a result as well and steered them to mid-table in 14th place. It was hard for me to predict this because one of the teams from the bottom half of last season that massively improved, I ended up putting one of them doing really well and the other one struggling, and that other one being Swansea at the end of the day. I haven't rated their transfer window. Nathan Wood joining Southampton doesn't help. Jerry Yates joining Derby doesn't help. And I also think Swansea are going to badly miss their goalkeeper from last season, Carl Rushworth, who I think is phenomenal. And he's on the verge of joining Sheffield United this summer. But Swansea, it was really hard to predict Swansea. Swansea, for me, are basically the true definition of a team that, for me, that can finish anywhere this season, whether if it's in the top half down to where I've got them. So this was really hard for me to predict, but I haven't rated their transfer window. Nathan Wood leaving doesn't help. Yates leaving doesn't help. Rushworth not being there doesn't help. They've kept Harry Darling, to be fair. They've kept Josh Key, to be fair. But Luke Williams, as much as I rate him, he will need to use all of his esteemed coaching acumen to keep Swans in this league, let alone aiming for mid-table. And there has been a lack of investment at the club as well. So they will have to look at youth learners in the squad depth like Matt Grimes as inspiration for this season. But I don't think it's going to be easy for Swansea as some people think it will be. I think they'll struggle. They're my dark horses, actually. When I say Hull and Watford are my dark horses to struggle, these are my true dark horses to struggle. But there's no way I see them going down, which is why I've got Swansea where they are in 19th place. 18th, Sunderland. Again, like Swansea, this was a really hard prediction to do. But I don't rate the signing of their new manager, the Black Cats, Regis Labrie. Regis Labrie, who just got Lorient relegated from Ligue 1 last season. You never know, though. The Championship might be a different experience for Regis Labrie, and he can improve. But I'm sorry, Sunderland fans, but I can't predict them to do well this season when they've just had an awful end to last season, finishing in 16th place. Ended really turbulently. They had the second worst form behind Rotherham as well last season, coming into the end. They were really poor. The board have made some questionable decisions over last season as well, which I think will carry on into this season as well. I'm not a huge fan of the appointment of Regis Labrie. What I will give Sunderland, though, is that they've kept Jack Clark, they've brought in Ian Paveda, and they've brought in Alan Brown from Preston, which, to be fair, I do think is a massive pro for them. Had it not been for them, I would have put Sunderland so much lower. A few weeks ago, before they came in, I actually had Sunderland down in like 21st and right near the dotted line. But those signings have convinced me, and I have moved them up as a result of that. And the fact that they are looking to keep Clark, which I do think is a huge bonus for them. But they ended really badly last season. They were on awful form, second worst behind Rotherham. I'm not a huge fan of the appointment of Regis Labrie, and I wouldn't be shocked if Sunderland have another same old situation of a season where they sack him, then they bring someone else in, and he's also turbulent, and they have another mediocre of a season languishing in the bottom half of the table. To be fair, when I did my fixture predictions the other day, Sunderland aren't actually really in the relegation battle. So you're probably thinking, Jack, why have you got them 18th? It's more for me that I think they're going to be inconsistent all throughout during the season with the fixtures they have. And then towards the end, just like last season, it'll just be so bang average for them, and it will bring them towards that relegation scrap, but there's no way I see them going down. So it's one of those predictions really for Sunderland, but yeah, I think they'll have basically a very similar season to last season when they finished 16th, and this time I've got them 18th. And the only reason why I haven't got them down is because they've kept Clark, they've brought in Paveda, they've brought in Alan Brown. You never know. They could finish a lot higher and do a lot better this season, so this could be a stinker of a prediction for me, but I don't rate Regis Labrie as a manager for this season. They do have a young squad, to be fair, Sunderland, packed with high potential assets, and to be fair, I'm looking forward to see their front three in Clark, Paveda and Joby Bellingham. Dan Neil's there as well. They should either shine or bring in at least large fees, but I do think Regis Labrie is a risk, and my reason for Sunderland having Regis Labrie is why a lot of people is my same reasons that a lot of people have for Wayne Rooney for us, who I've still got to talk about, obviously. But he's had two senior years of experience with Lorient, and it ended in relegation and angst. I do sort of worry for Sunderland because of that. I will say this now, before I go on to us. I do think Sunderland and Argyle will have very similar seasons, to be honest with you. But we'll go on to Plymouth when I talk about them. But no, I think Sunderland will come 18th. I don't think they're going to be that good this season. I had them a lot lower. And I thought the ownership, well, not exactly the ownership, but I thought the decisions the board were making were a complete mess lately. And that's what's convinced me to put them in the bottom half, and I haven't changed that ever since. And do I see them massively jumping from 16th straight to top half the table when last season ended so disastrously for them? And I'm not a fan of Regis Labrie being the new manager when they could have got someone like Will Still. I'm not so sure. To be fair, like I said, I don't think Sunderland will quite be in the relegation battle, but I do think they'll have another inconsistent season like last season that they had, and have so many poor games again. But I think they'll finish 2 places lower, down in 18th. So, yeah, I do think Sunderland will have another turbulent season. So, I do think they'll get back to the Premier League eventually in years to come, but this won't be the season in my eyes. So, yeah, I do think Sunderland will struggle this season. 18th. 17th, Portsmouth. Pompey will be fine this season in my eyes. The only criticism I have for Pompey coming into this season is that their summer window has been extremely poor. They've hardly signed anyone, although to be fair, I thought they did most of that in the January transfer window in League One before they got up. But I have rated the signings of Josh Murphy from Oxford and Matt Ritchie. Brilliant signings for them. They have lost Joe Morrell, however, who I think is going to be a massive loss for Portsmouth. But John Messinio has proved last season on what a manager he is. I think they'll keep Pompey up, I can't lie. My question is, though, for Pompey, how badly are they going to miss Regan Poole and Colby Bishop this season to injury? That could be a factor in them struggling, but I don't know. There's no way I see Portsmouth doing what Ipswich did last season. That is a fact in my eyes. But if Portsmouth do anything now, they'll repeat what we did last season now, in my eyes. But the squad I rate. I think they're Championship ready. Last season in League One speaks for itself. I think they'll be okay. But I do think they'll be in the fights. I do think they'll be in the fights regardless, just like Derby and just like Oxford. But I know they've had the worst transfer window out of the 3 clubs easily, but I still think they have the best squad, as last season proved. Of course, the way they won the league. John Mousinho's actually single-handedly the reason why Pompey will stay up for me, actually. I do highly rate him, and I've also predicted Pompey to be the biggest draw merchants this season. I can see them drawing a hell of a lot of games. I think they'll be strong at home. I think they'll be inconsistent and also poor away. But we'll see how it goes for Pompey. But I think they'll be all right, to be honest. I think they've got enough to do it. I've got them 17th. And then in 16th, the final position of the relegation battle, I've gone with us. I've gone with Plymouth to come 16th. Wayne ROONEY coming in is a bit questionable, considering his time at Birmingham last season. But people forget that if it wasn't for Derby's off-field problems, 3 seasons ago when they got relegated, Derby would have stayed up, and Wayne ROONEY was their manager, which tells you everything you need to know. It is a risky manager appointment, I know, because of his time at Birmingham, but I have rated his time at Derby. This is his last chance to prove himself in this league, is with us. So it's either, and it's going to be a big if, and my prediction for us coming 16th is the big if. We're either going to do very well, or we're going to be absolutely that awful and be in bottom 3 for most of the season. So it'll go one way or another, really, for us, in my eyes. But I'm backing us. I can't back us to go down. I really can't back us to go down. Firstly, we're well run. Secondly, I don't think the squad is bad enough to go down, to be honest. I think it's good enough to stay up regardless. Last season also, I know we left it to the last day, finishing 21st, but I think this season, now that we've had a year back in the Championship, and with the team we've got, and we're looking to keep Morgan Whittaker as well, I think we now have a season to learn in this league after a year being back, and now I think we'll improve. We're going to look at Luton for inspiration to do better this season. We're going to look at Brentford for inspiration to do better this season. They said it in the fans forum a few days ago. So there is the positivity. I do think us losing Dan Scarr, though, is a bit of a blow, and I am going to miss him loads this season. So best of luck to him at Wrexham. In comes Victor Paulsen, an Iceland international, which I'm very confident with. Also comes in Cornel Schuks, a Hungarian international. Once again, we have switched ourselves to the international market on who we've signed, apart from Darko JB, who's on loan from Leeds, who we've brought back this season and now knows this team inside out. I rate JB as well, and I'm glad we brought him back. And our other signings include Nathaniel Ogbata, who didn't really have a great season at Bolton last time out, so this is a step up for him. So he now has to prove himself for us. And then our other signings are up front, Tijani and Sissoko. And Sissoko has looked absolutely phenomenal this pre-season, and I have high hopes for him going into this season. He looks like an absolute baller, honestly. I'm looking forward to it. With Scar gone now, though, I think it's pretty certain now that our main 2 centre-backs this season will be Lewis Gibson and Julio Pleguezuelo. So that gives Wazza the opportunity to, well, rotate the centre-backs and rotate the squad regardless with that. Whittaker wants to stay. ROONEY said Whittaker wants to stay as well. So I'm confident with that as well coming into this season. My only question for us now is revolving around Michael Cooper. Because Cooper back in July, rejected a contract extension. But ROONEY said he has no hopes of no intentions of leaving at the moment. But it does concern me because we've only got 2 keepers at the moment in him and Connor Hazard. Zach Baker's on loan, and Callum Burton's followed Dan Scarr in joining Wrexham. So, apart from Dan Scarr, we have pretty much kept the majority of our starting 11. So there's no reason why I can't be confident going into this. But I will say this now. 16th, where I have us, all the way down to 24th, I think it's going to be really tight this season regardless. And there are games this season where I think we are going to find it really hard. It is the Championship for a reason. Once again, I think we'll struggle away from home. I've only got us to win 4 games away from home this season. So far, that being Oxford, Derby, Middlesbrough and Swansea. 2 games that we won last time. Don't see why not we can do it again. And Oxford Derby we did in League One. Don't see why not we can do it again. But yeah, our home form I think will be better this season. It needs to be better if we want to stay in this league. It's the reason. It's again the same reason why I think we will stay in this league. We've got to improve that home form drastically after what Ian Foster did to it. So yeah, it depends on how Wayne Rooney approaches the club this season as well. People forget also that the reason he did so badly at Birmingham was because Birmingham were in the playoffs when he took over and they unfairly sacked John Eustace and they plummeted down the table. We don't want playoffs this season, meanwhile. I'm happy enough to finish in any number this season that starts with a 1. So 19th above, I'll be so pleased with this season, as long as we don't go down. And either way, it's an improvement regardless, and then it's another season in the Championship for 2025-26. I don't care how long it takes this club to reach the Premier League one day. I'm happy enough in the Championship as it is, and I'm going to back the boys because I rate the squad as it is. I think we'll be okay. Two years ago, people wouldn't have realised a name like Wayne Rooney coming into this club, and this just shows how far we've come. And all of Rooney's press conferences recently with us as well, he sounded so positive in where he wants to take us this season. We're backing him. The fans are backing him. I have every reason to be confident. I really do. I really do. I totally get why other people have got us to go down or scraping survival, but I'm confident. I think we will be better than last season, and we'll learn from the mistakes from last season that we made as well, being back in this league. I think we can do better, and I think we will. It reminded me of Fleetwood a few seasons ago in League One, where they scraped survival in 20th and then finished like mid-table 13th next season. We can do it. We can do it. There will be games though I think we will struggle, and I can't lie, I'm going to show you the fixtures now. Our January and February I think looks absolutely vile. I mean, look at that. These are fixtures I'm not confident in. Sunderland away, Luton away, West Brom at home, Millwall at home. And you saw my fixture watch along the other day. It actually did put us 22nd in February, early February, in the bottom 3. So that just shows that I do think there will be times this season that I think we will struggle. You never know, it could cost Rooney his job. And I wouldn't be shocked if it did cost Rooney his job, to be brutally honest with you, unless we Gary Caldwell it by turning it around. But the fixtures we have at the end of February coming to March and April, I'm so confident in. They're games we won last season. Norwich at home, Middlesbrough away, Swansea away, Cardiff at home, Coventry at home. We were so close to winning last time, which I think we can do this time. And that's where we'll turn it around. March, April, that'll save our season. And I think we'll have a really good end to the season. And that's why I think we'll finish 16th. But I do think it's going to be tough for us regardless, either way. But I'm confident in the boys. I'm confident in the board. I'm confident in Rooney with having passion for us. We've got to make it work. Rooney knows himself he has to make this work, or because this is his last chance in the Championship being with us. So, yeah, it's risky, but I think there's feel-good factors coming into this season. So I am confident. I have every reason to be confident. I will say this now. There's no way we will finish top half this season, and I'm happy to admit that now. I'd be shell-shocked if we did, and it will be an overachieving season as it is anyways if we finish top half. Anywhere from 13th down to 19th, I'll take. And 20th, 21st, I don't really want to take, but I'll take it because it doesn't mean relegation. Either way, though, Harvey, Liam, Harvey England and I all said at the end of last season, we've stayed up, now we've got to go that step further and aim towards mid-table, which I can see this squad of players doing. We've got to get behind Rooney and we've got to get behind the team. And I rate the team as it is anyways. And I still maintain that if it wasn't for Ian Foster, we would have not finished 21st last season. We would have not finished 21st last season. We would have finished around where I've got us now in 16th or 17th. If we had Shuey for all of last season, we would have finished where Stoke finished. And I genuinely mean that as well. So yeah, I'm confident going into this season, and all my reasons why, I have every reason to be confident. So yeah, we know how to score goals in this league as well, and I think Whittaker will carry us once again. I'm confident in Hardy, I'm confident in Bundu, Callum Wright, the new signings in Tijani and Sissoko. It'll be Freddie Asaka's breakthrough season as well, I reckon, who I have high hopes for as well. My only concern is the back. I rate the signings, and I obviously rate Gibson and Pleggy, and obviously Joe Edwards and Mumba, but we know how to leak goals easily at this club, and it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if we do. So there is that as well. I think we will have a hard season regardless, though, and I do think we will be in the bottom 3 by January, February, but I do think we'll turn it around immediately after that. But yeah, I'm going 16th, and I think it'll be really tight between us all the way down to where Derby is. So yeah, like I said, I think there will be 9 teams in a relegation battle this season, and I think we'll come out on top on it all. People will call me biased saying that, but I have my reasons. I have my reasons, and I rate the team. I rate the team. I think we can do it, and we need to now show that passion under ROONEY, and ROONEY himself needs to show that same passion himself. So if this ends in a disaster, then this is all Neil Dewsnip's doing, in my eyes, because he keeps hiring his friends. That's the way I see it. That's the only criticism I have for our board. But I could be so proved wrong. We could be in for a brilliant season, and Home Park will be rocking. It'll be a tough gig, like everyone's expecting, but I'm backing the boys. I'm backing the boys, and I've got to back the boys. So, yeah, I'm going 16th. I'm going 16th. Up the Argyle, up the Janners, up the Argyle, up the Greens, up the Pilgrims, up the Plymouth. Come on, you boys in green. Green Army, bring Sheffield Wednesday on, first game of the season. 16th for Plymouth Argyle. So that leaves me with, so that's my relegation scrap sorted. I think the relegation battle will be from 24th to 16th. I wouldn't be surprised if any one of these 9 teams will go down. I wouldn't be surprised if any one of these 9 teams will go down. Whereas 15th upwards, I don't see going down at all, which we're now going to talk about next. Because my next section is mid-table, which I think is from 15th to 11th. So let's see which 5 clubs I have gone with to finish in mid-table this season. Also, I'm going to say this now, my predicted player of the season this season is Ballymumba for Argyle this season. And my reason being, I think he has got a lot to prove from how disappointing his season was last season. And I feel like this season is the season where he needs to shine. 15th, Preston. So Preston's the first club I've got in the mid-table battle here between these 5 clubs. But I don't see hardly any improvements from Preston whatsoever. I've got them lower than where they finished last season because I think there's going to be so many teams from the bottom half of last season to improve this season, which is why I have Preston dropping a few places below. I'm going to make this prediction now. I do think Ryan Lowe will get sacked this season because I think there's going to be a spell during Preston's season where they're that inconsistent. They're on a bad run of form and he goes and then they get back to better form again. Once again, I think Preston will be mid-table and finish on a negative goal difference. It's such a Preston thing to do. To be honest, though, I'm surprised so many people have backed them to either go down or be in a relegation battle. I don't see it at all with Preston. I know they've lost Alan Brown to Sunderland, which I do think is huge, but they have kept their best player, Liam Miller. They've also brought in Sam Greenwood from Leeds, and they've also brought in our former man, Kane Kessler-Hayden from Villa, which I think is very impressive from Ryan Lowe, to be fair. But Preston, for me, like Bristol City, Preston are really pretty much the most boring club in the Championship, and I don't see this season being any different for them. So, yeah, I think they're going to be mid-table yet again, honestly. It'll be such a Preston season. But once again, I think they'll start well, but then I think they'll be inconsistent as always. They ended last season really disastrously, but once again, I think they're going to be that inconsistent. It's just such a Preston thing to do under Ryan Lowe, and the team hasn't hardly changed either. So I have got them to go 5 places lower because they finished 10th last season. This time, I think they'll be 15th. They'll be too good to go down, especially if they keep key defender Liam Lindsay. But yeah, they'll be absolutely fine. They'll finish mid-table yet again, but I don't see them improving at all. So I do think they'll finish 5 places lower, but they won't be in the fight at all. They won't be in the fight at all, but I do think they'll be worse this season. But they'll be inconsistent and I don't understand why a lot of people have them so much lower. I've got Preston 15th. 14th, Sheffield United. You're all going to call me mad for this, but I'm sorry. There is no way I can back a team getting playoffs, let alone top 2, when you've just conceded over 100 goals in the Premier League. The club being in financial turmoil, so much uncertainty, and one of the worst Premier League teams I have ever seen in my life. Probably second worst, only behind Derby of 07-08. The reason why I've got Sheffield United 14th is quite simply, they are crap. I'll tell you what though, there is some positives though. I have rated their summer window, to be fair. Callum O'Hare coming in, Kiefer Moore coming in, Harrison Burrows coming in, Alfie Gilchrist coming in from Chelsea. I still think they'll easily finish the worst out of the 3 relegated sides from the Premier League, though. Easily. And Chris Wilder, for me, is nowhere near the manager he used to be. Last season for Sheffield United was probably the worst they've probably ever experienced. It was that embarrassing. There's no way I can back a team that's just conceded over 100 goals to do well this season. I rate the signings, but I don't rate everything that's off-field worrying for Sheffield United. It's the off-field reasons why Sheffield United will really struggle for me this season, and they won't be anywhere near the promotion battle. They'll finish mid-table. They'll genuinely finish mid-table. And I'll tell you this now. Before the likes of Kiefer Moore, O'Hare and Harrison Burrows came in, I had Sheffield United even lower, even potentially having back-to-back relegations to League One. That's how bad I rate, that's how much I don't rate their squad at all. Especially with how last season went for them. So, yeah, I'm not confident for Sheffield United one bit this season. The signings, though, have made me a little more confident for them. But there's still so many teams from the bottom half of last season that I think will improve. And Sheffield United will miss out for me as a result of that. I really think they'll struggle. One of the most overhyped teams in the Championship this season, and I don't get why. Genuinely, they will struggle this season. And even with Kiefer Moore and Callum O'Hare coming in, they'll struggle. I don't rate them at all. There's no way I can back a team that's just conceded over 100 goals to do well this season. And I had them so much lower before the transfer window, before the players they brought in, for example. And I will say this now, this is the most likely in years we could see a back-to-back relegation to League One, because they are just in that much of a crisis at the moment, Sheffield United. But I could be heavily wrong on this, but the signings have convinced me, to be fair, from the Blades, and that's why I've moved them up to mid-table. But there's no way they'll be in the autos or the playoffs race. No way at all. 14th for the Blades. And also the -2 points deduction, I think, will be a huge negativity going into their season as well. But we'll see. They actually do finish 13th in my fixture predictions, but World Football Net didn't show the -2 point deduction. So I've gone with Blades 14th and Stoke 13th, which I'm now going to talk about Stoke now. So yeah, 13th, completing the bottom half of the table, I've gone with Stoke. Stoke will do better than all their few seasons lately when they have been mediocre in mid-table. Once again, I do think they will be mediocre in mid-table, but I do think they'll improve their league position. Shuey, I think, has brought the most confidence in Stoke fans in quite a while, I can't lie. And I think them signing Victor Johansson from Rotherham, who was one of the keepers of the season last season for me, is absolutely crucial for the Potters going into this season. And the way they ended last season as well, and the summer they have, I think they really are building something there with Shuey. So I do think they will get better, but there's other teams that I do think that will do just better than Stoke. But I do think they'll have a solid season at least, Stoke. But I do think they'll be mid-table again. They should concede fewer than last season's 60 goals after signing Victor Johansson, while their young group will only get better. Wouter Berger and Bai Young Ho's link-up could be the key to a first top half finish, to be fair, since their relegation from the Premier League in 2018. But time will tell. I found it really hard, actually, between Stoke and who I had in 12th place for these two positions. But the team that I have in 12th place, which I'm now about to go on to, have slightly convinced me more with the signings they've brought in compared to what Stoke's brought in. But I wouldn't be surprised if Stoke get top half one bit this season. I think they will be very underrated this season. I have got them 13th. 12th, Bristol City. So I've got Bristol City to pip Stoke to 12th. Liam Manning's a very underrated manager, and I have the signings from Bristol City have convinced me once again. However, they are, just like Preston, the most boring club in the league, so I can't see them challenging for playoffs this time. So I have got them 12th as a result of that. And again, bottom half teams from last season I think will improve massively. So if they do get the signings right, though, they could be higher. But if they get them wrong, then I've got them here in 12th. But Liam Manning is building something there, though, for me. But when you look at Bristol City at this rate, they are the most boring club in the league. When you type in 12th and you think of one thing straight away, you probably immediately think of Bristol City. But Max Bird and Sinclair Armstrong, I think, are quality signings for the Robins. And the Robins have solid foundations on and off the pitch. And in order to reach the playoff places, though, they would require an extra creative spark and firepower. Unless Anis Mehmeti and Tommy Conway can be those respective solutions. But I think they're going to miss out regardless on the playoffs. And other teams that I've got ahead of Bristol City, I think, will do better. But I think they will get top half. And the feel-good factor around the club on and off the pitch is why I've got them top half again this season. But they are the definition of mid-table. And do I see them improving? Not quite. But I have rated the team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do finish higher than 12th. But I am going to go with 12th for Liam Manning's side. 11th, Middlesbrough. In my opinion, the most overhyped team coming into this season, along with Sheffield United. Don't get me wrong, Michael Carrick is a very good manager, but the thing is, the bookies just seem to predict Middlesbrough to finish top 6 almost every single season, and they still haven't got out of the Championship since they got relegated in 2016-17. And I still see that continuing for Borough. To be fair, they've kept Luke Ayling, they've kept Emmanuel Latte-Laff, which I do rate. And I do think Finn Azaz can get only stronger for Borough this season, as he proved with Argyle, of course. But there's just so many teams from the bottom half from last season that I think are getting far too overlooked at, that I think that will overtake Middlesbrough. Honestly, Borough are the most overhyped team for me this season, and I think they'll have an exact repeat of last season, with the only difference being I think they'll do slightly worse. Because I've got them to win 20 times and lose 21 times and then draw the rest. And yet they're still 11th in my predictions, which just shows how tight I think it's going to be this season. But I don't see them getting playoffs, honestly. They are the most overhyped team in the league, in my honest opinion. Them, Sheffield United and Hull. I don't see why people have got Borough top 6. I know they were very close to finishing top 6 at the end of last season, and Emmanuel Latte-Laff is going to go into this season into brilliant form, but I don't see it. And there's other teams I think that are going to massively improve. I don't think Michael Carrick has got to that level just yet, and I wouldn't be shocked that if they do have a disappointing season, he leaves at the end of the season. But it depends on how the Borough fans feel. But I really don't see them doing that great. They're so overhyped, in my honest opinion. I've got them 11th, and I think they'll have a very similar season to last season. Basically, in other words, inconsistent as hell. So that wraps up the teams that I think that will be in mid-table this season, from 15th to 11th. So now we move on to what I think are the playoff chasers. From 10th up to 6th. 10th, Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday are one of my 4 dark horses coming into this season. Their summer transfer window has been absolutely phenomenal. Ugbo's come back. Also comes Ben Hamer, Jan Valery, Max Lowe, Jamal Lowe, and Nathaniel Chalobah. Danny Röhl really is building something at the Hillsborough site. And you obviously saw how Wednesday did at the end of last season when Danny Röhl came in. Completely saved their season. He's some manager, isn't he? And no wonder Chansiri's given him a permanent contract. But my only worry for Wednesday this season is pretty much the ownership itself, because I know they can't stand Chansiri, and you never know, he could still mess it up for them. There is pressure on Danny Röhl this season as well, because he has signed a permanent contract for them, similar to what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did at Manchester United a few seasons ago, where he signed a permanent contract after doing really well as caretaker manager and an interim manager, and then Ollie absolutely buggered it and he got sacked in 2021. That's the only fear I have for Danny Röhl, unless Danny Röhl gets snapped up by a Premier League club or a club in the Bundesliga. That's how much I rate him, but the signings have really convinced me for Wednesday this season. So if Chansiri actually gets it right, for an owner that their club fans can't stand, then fair play to him, honestly, and fair play to Wednesday in general, actually. They will improve this season, and the end of last season showed that. But yeah, the reasons I have them 10th are literally if Röhl gets too much under pressure and if Chansiri messes everything up. I don't think it'll be this season yet for Wednesday, but if they keep everything they have at the moment and they have a solid season as it is, which is why I have them in 10th, then they could do even better the season after. But I still don't think they're good enough for the playoffs regardless anyway. So I've got 10th for Wednesday, and I have more confidence for Wednesday than I do for Blades coming into this season for the Steel City, which would be brilliant for Wednesday fans to hear in this predictions video. But it is hard to trust Wednesday under the current ownership, but it's easy to trust them to trust Danny Röhl. So that's where you could have them in mid-table, but the signings have convinced me. End of last season has convinced me. Danny Röhl has convinced me. And my player of the season last season for Wednesday was Anthony Musaba, who I think is going to have another cracking season this season. They'll finish 10th in my eyes. They will be top half for me this season. They're going to improve. I've got Wednesday to come 10th this season. And they are in a chance of challenging the playoffs. But I don't think it'll be that this season yet. It'll be too soon for them. But I think they'll take 10th regardless this season, Wednesday, given how last season went as well. 9th, Millwall. I'm going to give you my main reason why I've got Millwall to finish 9th this season. And also, they're another one of my dark horses. You know what Denmark did in Euro 2020 when they avenged Christian Eriksen after the cardiac arrest he had? Well, Millwall, I think, are going to do exactly the same this season after the sudden death of their number one goalkeeper, Matija Sarkic, who obviously, may he rest in peace. Really sad news, obviously, and it will affect their club for a while, and awful news. And I send all my condolences to Millwall, Sarkic's family, and all the squad and players and fans around Millwall Football Club. And as a result of all that, I think Millwall's going to proudly avenge Sarkic this season with... they've got a brilliant boss as it is under Neil Harris, a fantastic boss under Neil Harris, who saved Millwall's season last season, and Millwall ended last season as one of the best sides in the league. They absolutely rinsed and rose up to 13th in the league when they were in a relegation battle, steering Millwall clear of the relegation battle as well. I think they'll do better this season, and I think they'll proudly avenge Sarkic. The signings have been phenomenal as well this window for Millwall. They've signed Tanganga, former Tottenham player, and he was at Millwall for last season as well. They've also brought in Macaulay Langstaff from Notts County, who is a phenomenal player as it is anyway. I genuinely think they're in for a brilliant season, Millwall. They're one of my dark horses coming into this season. I think the other reason why, though, I think they'll just be short of playoffs, though, is because I think they'll be short of goals again. They will have to heavily rely on Zian Fleming and Bradshaw, Nisbet, and also with Macaulay Langstaff coming in. There's going to be huge pressure on him as well but they won't be in a relegation battle this season. They'll be solid enough to be well away from the relegation battle. And Millwall will be challenging for playoffs for me this season. It just depends if they can finally reach that top 6, but I don't think it's going to quite be their season quite yet. I've got 9th for Millwall. 8th, Norwich. I'm telling you this now, Norwich will no way get the playoffs this season. They won't be anywhere near the same team as I thought they would be from last season. Gabriel Sara has gone to Galatasaray, who was the best defensive midfielder in the league last season, and they've just lost him to the Turkish league. Also gone is one of their defenders, Dimitrios Giannoulis, who's gone to Augsburg, and that is going to cost Norwich this season. Gabriel Sara going, they're gonna massively miss Sara in my eyes, and that is gonna cost Norwich in my opinion. But I do think they will have other stars that will impress for them this season, like Jonathan Rowe, like Josh Sargent, of course, but they won't reach playoffs for me this season. They're nowhere near looking the same team as last season. Also, last season ended so disastrously for them. It costed David Wagner his job. In comes Johannes Hoff-Forup, so a new era at Carrow Road regardless. They'll be up there regardless around the playoffs and all that, but they won't be good enough for me this season, and that's why I've got them in 8th. I don't see it at all for Norwich this season, and I think they're going to miss Sara badly. I think they're going to miss him so badly. 7th, just missing out on the playoffs, QPR. 100% QPR will have a better season than the absolute nightmare of the last 2 seasons, the West London club. Martí Cifuentes is one of the most underrated managers in the league. I think he'll kick ass this season. My only downside for QPR coming into this season is losing Chris Willock to Cardiff. But other than that, I really think the progression will be massive for Queen's Park Rangers this season. It will be a brilliant season for QPR in my eyes this season, and they're going to, guttingly for them, just miss out on the playoffs, but I am expecting them to have a cracking season regardless. It's the most confident their fan base have been in years, and I don't blame them one bit because they are really building something at Loftus Road at the moment. Comfortable, definite considered progress in recruitment and results after a nightmare 2 years. Progression is very likely following top 10 form for the strugglers once Martí Cifuentes had taken charge. And I think their squad's going to get only better, to be honest with you. They have every reason to be confident going into this season. And they're my other dark horses coming into this season. Another team from the relegation scrap last season who I think will have a brilliant season this season. You know what everyone's saying regarding Sheffield Wednesday having a fantastic season? Well, that's what I think regarding QPR. They have every reason to be confident coming into this season. And they're one of my dark horses. QPR to finish 7th for me, only just missing out on the playoffs. 6th, Cardiff. My other dark horses of the season and my final dark horses of the season, and the team in the playoff battle that I've got that I think will get the playoffs this season. Erol Bulut for me was the 2nd best manager in the league last season, only behind Kieran McKenna. What a season Cardiff had, considering they nearly went down the season before that. And the way they turned it around last season was phenomenal. The summer transfer window has been exceptional as well. Bringing in Alex Robertson, Anwar El Ghazi, Chris Willock and Callum Chambers to all play alongside established players like Aaron Ramsey and Perry NG, who was my right back of the season last season as well. And I feel like Erol Bulut's side is going to only get better, and he's one of the most underrated managers in the league as it is. And I honestly don't understand why so many people are predicting Cardiff to do worse this season, because I think they'll only go and do better. Cardiff to come 6th in my eyes. I've been very impressed with the transfer window. The manager is superb, and they're for me my dark horses to reach playoffs this season, and I've got them to come playoffs this season. I think there will be a top 5 autos race, so Cardiff will be best of the rest for me in my predictions, and honestly, they have every reason to be confident coming into this season. So that's my playoff battle from 10th to 6th. Cardiff will get the playoffs for me, in my opinion. So now it leaves me with my top 5. You all know who the top 5 is. that is my promotion battle. That is my battle on who reaches the Premier League this season. So now, what order have I got my top 5? 5th, Burnley. Burnley, for me, will do the worst out of the 5, but them and fellow Premier League relegators, Luton, will easily be in the autos battle in my eyes, regardless. I think the reason why I've got Burnley 5th is because I think they're going to badly miss Vincent Kompany. Had they kept Vincent Kompany, I probably would have had Burnley nailed on for top 2, if not 3rd place at least. So I do think it'll be harder for Burnley than they think it will be. Obviously, they proved it before 2 seasons ago when they went up as champions. I also didn't want to predict Burnley to go back up straight away because I just thought it'd be such a boring prediction to do. And I don't think it's going to be that straightforward for Scott Parker anyway. So I don't know if Scott Parker's actually the right manager for the job for the Clarets this season. To be fair, he knows how to get teams out of this league like he did with Fulham and Bournemouth. Will he do it with Burnley? I'm not sure. They got a very talented squad, including Goodmanson. And they got 2 exceptional goalkeepers in James Trafford and Václav Hladky, who they've just signed from Ipswich. But will it be enough for Burnley? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Scott Parker's the right man to do it for them. But they are massively talented in that squad. And it wouldn't shock me at all if they got top 2 regardless. But there's just other teams for me this season where I feel like it will be their season. But Burnley will be in the autos race regardless. But I'm going to go 5th for the Clarets. 4th, West Brom. This is a big if in my eyes because West Brom have lost quite a few key players like Thomas Asante to Coventry, Connor Townsend to Ipswich, Yokuslu's gone as well. So it does sound a bit uncertain at the Baggies, but they have the best manager in the league, in my opinion. Well, joint best manager in the league with Rob Edwards. And Carlos Corberán alone, for me, will carry West Brom into the playoffs this season. And also, with West Brom's new takeover happening as well, that's another reason why I think they'll once again be sustainable getting playoffs this season, just like last season. And even with the departures of Thomas Asante and Yokuslu, I still think they'll do okay. They got the best keeper in the league in Alex Palmer. They've still got brilliant players in like Semi Ajayi and Grady Diangana, but I don't think it's enough to challenge the top 3, especially with the players that have left. But Carlos Corberán will do the job for me, and West Brom will get playoffs in my eyes. They will be in the top 5 and in this autos battle regardless, and I do highly rate their team. Them losing Yokuslu and Thomas Asante is why I've pushed them down slightly, because I actually did have them 2nd before they left, especially with how much I rate Corberán. But I don't think they will get top 2 just yet, the Baggies. So it depends if they win the playoffs now. But they'll be in the autos fight for me regardless. So I do think they will be up there. Shilan Patel's takeover meant more to most Albion fans than going up under previous ownership would have done, to be honest with you. So, yeah, that feel-good factor. Adding to the dependability of the players they've got, especially Alex Palmer, who I think is the best keeper in the league, it can definitely ensure the Baggies at least a top 6 finish. The only way I can see West Brom now struggling this season or doing worse than 4th is if Carlos Corberán gets snapped up by a club like Southampton or Leicester or Ipswich or Nottingham Forest or Fulham or Everton, if they end up sacking their manager at the start of the season in the Premier League and Carlos Corberán gets snapped up. Because I do highly rate Corberán and I do think he is a Premier League manager. So if he does stay put with West Brom, fair play, and it could be a huge factor into West Brom potentially winning the playoffs. I'll reveal my playoff winner at the end of this video. 3rd, just missing out on the top 2, Luton. The other club who I think has the best manager in the league in Rob Edwards. He's a phenomenal manager. And honestly, they're so superbly run, I wouldn't be shocked if they bounce straight back up, I can't lie with you. They'll easily do the best out of the relegated Premier League clubs in my honest eyes. Luton was so close to staying up as it was last season anyways. And the reason why I've got Burnley to finish 5th, by the way, speaking of which, is because of how poorly they did last season. And Luton did so much better than both Burnley and Sheffield United put together. They will easily do the best out of the relegation Premier League clubs, in my honest eyes. Luton, superbly run. They've kept the majority of their squad. Rob Edwards is one of the best managers in the league. A superbly run club with a talented manager. They look well placed to bounce back. I wouldn't be shocked if they bounce back either. The only reason why I don't have Luton second is because there's another club out there who I personally think it will be their season and their time to shine. And you probably guessed the clue already. It's the club that I think that will get revenge on Luton after what happened in the playoff final in 2023. But either way, the spine of Teden Mengi, Marvellous Nakamba and Carlton Morris will be crucial. They've got brilliant players as it is. Thomas Kaminski in goal, of course, that'll be huge. Ogbene in that midfield. And then, of course, Adebayo up front. The Hatters look destined to bounce back to the Premier League. And they were very unlucky to go down last season as well. They did deserve to go down at the end because Forest were better. It's as simple as that. But Luton will pull up a fight and they'll easily do the best out of the relegated Premier League sides this season, in my eyes. What a manager Rob Edwards is and what a squad they got. They will take the top two to the last day, in my opinion. I wouldn't be shocked if they get top two, to be honest. I just think it will be someone else's year. But Luton will be in this battle regardless. And I do think they'll finish a very strong third at least. Now it just depends on whether they can do it in the playoffs. Second, Coventry. I'm telling you this now, this will be Coventry's season in my eyes. This is the season Mark Robins has finally had all his hard work as their manager paid off, and they will reach the Premier League for the first time since the 90s. Genuinely, I think they are in for a superb season. Last season, they knocked Wolves out of the FA Cup. They should have knocked Manchester United out of the FA Cup. They know what it takes to take on Premier League sides like that. This season, I think it will be their season. Jack Rudoni, Mason Clark and Thomas Asante are excellent additions to a high-energy squad, that includes Milan Van Uwijk, Josh Eccles, Ellis Sims, Haji Wright. And I think it's only going to get better for Mark Robins, and all his hard work of being their manager and staying loyal as their manager and being the cog and backbone of the club from the Ricoh Arena will finally come together this season. I feel like this is the year Coventry finally doing it. After last season ended disappointingly, the season before ended heartbreakingly in that playoff final to Luton. This time I think they'll pip Luton to second. Coventry will finally be back in the Premier League, in my honest opinion. The only downside for Coventry is losing Callum O'Hare to Sheffield United, but I think they've replaced him well, especially with the additions of Rudoni, Mason Clark and Thomas Asante coming in to bolster Coventry's attacking options. First, Leeds. Quite simply put, the favourites for this season and my champions for this season. Even if Crescencio Somerville, their star player, goes to West Ham and Archie Gray goes to Tottenham, that's two of Leeds' key players. Even with those two departures, I do think they will win the league still. I will be shell-shocked if they don't win the league, especially after how they missed out on that playoff final to Southampton at the end of last season. Daniel Farke knows how to win this league. Obviously, he's done it twice with Norwich. This time, I think it will get Leeds over the line. And quite simply, I know Leeds' aim is to quite simply go straight into the Premier League this season. And a tight rear guard, a top defender and midfielder in Ethan Ampadu, he's still there. They have an awesome attack. Even without Crescencio Somerville, they still have an awesome attack in Daniel James, Patrick Bamford, Wilfred Gnonto, Joel Pirro. I mean, Joel Pirro wasn't brilliant last season, but he's got to step it up this season if he wants to help Leeds get promoted this season. Like I said, and they've got Joe Rodon back as well at the back, which I think is huge for Leeds regardless. Also look out for Jorginho Ruta, who I think will be one of the players of the season this season as well. Even without Somerville, like I said, Leeds will definitely win the league this season in my eyes. Daniel Farke knows how to, and they still have the team to do it, and they know they need to be back in the Premier League sooner rather than later, given how last season ended for them. And I'm still shell-shocked they're not in the Premier League this season, because I really thought it would be a clear sweep between Ipswich, Leicester and Leeds to go into the Premier League. But no, that playoff final defeat to Southampton showed that anything could happen. So, yeah, Leeds will win the league this season in my eyes. And considering the Championship is much weaker this season, they know they have the capabilities of doing that as well. So there you are, guys. That is my official 2024-25 Championship prediction. So now it's on to my playoff winner. So we'll have West Brom against Burnley and Luton against Cardiff. I can't lie, I think it'll be, this might sound really boring, but I think it'll be a Luton-West Brom final. Well, a Luton-Burnley final would be the most boring, but in terms of like who finishes third and fourth, I think it will be a Luton-West Brom final. And I have got Corberan to do it with the takeover as well. I've got West Brom to pip Luton in the playoff final, and I think the Baggies will return to the Premier League next season. So, yeah, that's my prediction there. So it will mean the Baggies will return to the Premier League next season in my predictions, and the Black Country Derby as well, because I know I don't have Wolves to get relegated. But yeah, that's it, guys. That is everything you need to know. That is my 2024-25 official Championship predictions. Hopefully Argyle smash it. Let me know your predictions in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys. That is the big one over and done with. League 1, League 2 and the Premier League I still need to upload, but they are going to be there very soon. So yeah, take care, guys. Have a good one. Up the Janners, up the Argyle, up the Greens, up the Pilgrims, up the Plymouth. Come on, you boys in green. Green Army. And I'm calling it now. Plymouth Argyle will finish 16th this season. We'll see you all then. We're so back. Bring on Sheffield Wednesday away. See you all on Sunday. Cheerio.
When they pull on the green, they're all Janners. Janners!